All right, let's talk about a company called Fitter Snacker. On the outside, it's one of those success stories we all hear about, but behind the curtain, it was absolute chaos. Today, we're going to break down exactly what went wrong and explore the one powerful solution that turned everything around.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll get to know Fitter Snacker and really diagnose their biggest problem, what we call the chaos of silos. Then, we'll watch as they bring in a new ERP system and see the incredible before and after in their sales, their supply chain, their finances, and even HR. And finally, we'll put it all together to see why this one change gave them such a massive advantage.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Fitter Snacker makes two kinds of snack bars. The NRG-A, which is all about advanced energy, and the NRG-B for bodybuilding proteins. They're selling these to distributors, grocery stores, big chains, you get the idea. And, on paper, things look pretty good.
But that's just on paper. If you were actually an employee there or even a customer, you'd know the real story. The company is just drowning in problems. We're talking wrong prices, missed delivery dates, and really unhappy customers. The whole operation is basically being held together with tape, all because of how they handle or don't handle their information.
And the root of all this pain, the real villain in this story, is something called information silos. This is where everything starts to fall apart for Fitter Snacker, and honestly, for a ton of companies out there.
So what's an information silo? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. Imagine each department, sales, the warehouse, accounting, all have their own separate computer systems. The key thing is, these systems don't talk to each other at all. So critical information gets trapped. And it means everyone is working from a different playbook. And most of the time, it's an old.
At Fitter, this was a recipe for daily disaster. The sales team had its own ordering program, so they were constantly quoting old prices. The warehouse, they were tracking inventory on a separate PC that only got updated once a day. So if you asked them, hey, how much stock do we really have? They had no idea. And accounting was working with credit data that was a week old, which led to all kinds of billing nightmares.
And this wasn't just a tech problem, it was a people problem, a communications problem. The marketing team would dream up some huge promotion, launch it, and just forget to tell the production team. So all of a sudden, this tidal wave of orders would come crashing in, and the factory was totally blindsided. This meant either paying a fortune in overtime or, worse, just telling customers, sorry, we can't fill your order. So the fallout from all this was, well, pretty bad. Customers were getting the wrong prices, orders were late, they were constantly running out of stock. Can you imagine getting an angry Pay Now letter for a bill you already paid just because their computers weren't talking to each other? Fitter was bleeding money, losing customers, and they couldn't even tell you for sure if their own products were making a profit.
Fitter Snacker was at a total breaking point. They couldn't go on like this. They needed a massive change, a real turning point. And that turning point came in the form of a new, fully integrated system.
The solution they found is called an Enterprise Resource Planning System, or ERP for short. And really, the best way to think about an ERP is as a single shared brain for the whole company. Instead of every department having its own messy notebook, now everyone is writing in and reading from the same central book, and it's all happening in real time.
This is the key. The whole point of this system is to completely tear down those information walls. Every single piece of data, a sales order, an inventory count, a customer payment, gets entered just once, and then it's instantly available for everyone else in the company to see and use.
Okay, so what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's start with the front lines of the business and see how this totally transformed Fitter's sales and supply chain. I mean, the change was just night and day. Before, salespeople were just guessing at discounts. Now, the ERP has this clever thing called the condition technique, and it automatically calculates the exact right price for every single customer, every single time. And remember when clerks had to call the warehouse to guess at a delivery date? Now the system does an available to promise check that instantly scans live inventory and the production schedule to give a rock-solid delivery date right there on the spot. And this screen right here shows you the new superpower, total visibility. This is called a document flow. It's a perfect real-time audit trail of a customer's entire order journey, from the moment they placed it to the moment they paid. A customer calls with a question, you can answer it in seconds, not hours or days.
This new clarity completely changes the game for production, turning it from chaos into a structured process. With all this data in one place, Fitter can now create a really accurate sales forecast. That forecast feeds into a plan that balances what customers want with what the factory can actually make. Then, that big plan gets broken down into a detailed weekly schedule. And the coolest part?
The system uses the recipe for the snack bars to automatically figure out every single oat, raisin, and wrapper they need to order, and exactly when they need it.
Now, this revolution doesn't just stop at the warehouse store. It goes right into the back office and completely changes how the finance and human resources departments work.
For the finance team, this was huge. Those week-old credit reports, gone. Now the ERP does a live credit check the second an order is placed. If a customer is over their limit, bam, the order is automatically flagged for review. And closing the books at the end of the month, that used to take weeks of painful manual work. Now it takes just a couple of days because every single transaction has been automatically posted to the main ledger in real time.
Human resources got a major upgrade too. That old clunky mess of paper files for job applicants, replaced by a smooth digital process. And payroll, which used to be a huge headache filled with manual errors, is now directly tied into the system. Employee hours go in digitally and flow right into the payroll calculation. No more mistakes, just accurate paychecks on time. So we've seen this incredible turnaround across the whole company, but what's the big takeaway here? What's the most important lesson from Fittersnacker's story? Well, it really all comes down to one simple, incredibly powerful idea: the advantage of having a single source of truth for your entire business.
Seriously, when you tear down those information silos, you basically give your company superpowers. Your costs plummet because you're not wasting money on extra inventory or panicked overtime. Your revenue climbs because you stop losing sales from being out of stock. But maybe the biggest superpower of all is that your decisions get way smarter because they're based on what's actually happening in your business right now.
There's a great quote that I think just nails this whole thing. We always talk about competition between companies, right? But sometimes the biggest fights are happening between departments inside the same company. An integrated system forces everyone to collaborate, and it's that collaboration that really unlocks a company's hidden power.
And that really leaves us with one final crucial question. In a world that moves this fast, where information is everything, can any business really afford the waste and the risk that comes from operating with a divided brain? I think the story of Fittersnacker tells us the answer is a pretty clear no.